Society Museum Room, and I have as a guest today Roy Staub. And the purpose of this interview is to show what life was like here in part of Anderson Township through him. And Roy, your name is Roy Staub, right?
Right. You pronounced it right.
And where were you born?
On 8 Mile, on Nagel Road, there, right where the driveway goes into the church. There's a little house there.
It's a Baptist church, right?
Yeah.
Sort of across from where the post office is.
Right. That's
Yeah.
right. Mm-hmm.
What year was that?
1921.
And your specific date of birth?
January 24th, 1921.
Who were your parents?
Catherine and Robert Staub.
Catherine's first, or maiden name, I should say, was what?
Henneke.
Had they both been born in this country, or?
No. One of them came from Yugoslavia, and one of them came from Czechoslovakia. Of course, those boundaries are altogether different now,
Yeah.
but that's the...
Did they come as minors, or did they come after they were adults? Do you know?
Well, I think Mother was pretty young, but she worked over there in Germany and saved money to make that trip. And of course, Robert, he worked on the ship going back and forth.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, and that's where they met.
On the ship?
Right.
How did they eventually, where did they first live, to your knowledge, when they settled in this country?
I think it was in New York. They worked for a doctor, and I don't know the name of the doctor, but he took care of the horses and the buggies and things like that, and she took care of the house, cooking and so forth.
And was this in New York City, or was it in the outskirts?
I think it was in the outskirts of New York State.
City, you mean?
City, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. When did they move here, do you know?
I know when we moved on 8 Mile Road, that was probably about 1928.
Were they were, where did they move first here? Did they move into Anderson?
To Norwood.
Norwood, I see.
Yeah. Because he had a cousin over there. Distant cousin.
And that's how they got acquainted with this area, I guess.
Yes.
And then, so they located on Nagel Road when you were born.
Yeah, that's the last house we lived in before we went on 8 Mile.
I see. How many brothers and sisters did you have?
I had 3 brothers and 1 sister.
Can you name them?
Robert G. Staub, now he was adopted, and Louis Staub, and Catherine Staub, and Richard Staub, and Roy Staub.
You're the youngest, I guess, right?
Right.
The one that you mentioned was adopted. The procedures, you understood it at that time. How did that work?
Well, I think that the doctor just had to go down, or they went with him. You see, she had had a baby, and she had had several children stillborn and died at early age, and didn't look like they was going to be able to get a child, and so the doctor suggested they adopt. And so I think he went down, or all 3 of them went down and picked out a little boy and brought him home, and she put him on her breast and fed him, and from there on. And then he had infantile paralysis at one time.
Where was he at the time he was selected? Was that an orphanage, or do you know?
No, not for sure. I would guess so. It would be an orphanage, unless the doctor knew a family that he was born to.
Go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted. You were telling me about he
had infantile paralysis, and when they went to school up there in that schoolhouse across from the UB church back in there, they used to take him in a wagon. My brothers and sisters pull him in a wagon. Of course, I wasn't there, I couldn't help.
Yeah, not very well. Do you mean, how did they get from Nagel Road to, this school that you're speaking of used to be located where that, I guess that health store is now.
Health, food store,
about
yeah.
That area, yeah.
Mhm.
In that shopping complex there.
Yeah, right.
How did they get from the house to there? Was there a bus?
The
or
road? No, they walked.
They walked?
Yeah,
And they
that's-
pulled him in the wagon?
Yeah, they had a little four-wheel wagon, and they put him in the wagon because he was crippled.
Uh-huh.
But at that time now, I don't know exactly when he had the infantile paralysis, but
Uh-huh.
I know he was crippled at that time, and they had to tow him along in the wagon, take him to school.
Now, are you the only surviving one of the children?
Yes.
Uh-huh. And are there children in this area, or are they kind of spread around the country?
Let's see. Richard's daughter is in Tennessee. No, they're not here. They're kind of spread around.
Not there locally, then?
No.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Well, you mentioned that your family, that is, went from the Nagel Road property where you were born to the farm.
Yeah.
Now, where was that located?
That was on 8 Mile Road.
Give me
Don't know the number there, but our number where we live now is 2423, but I guess there wasn't any numbers then.
when they put...
There wasn't any phone, there wasn't any electric, there wasn't any road, just 2 tracks.
Yeah, the boundaries of the farm, first of all, as I understand it, were located on both sides of the 8 Mile Road.
Right.
Is the house that you moved into still standing?
Yes.
And that, can you tell us, describe it now? Is it?
Okay, they did some remodeling on it, the last people that had it, but it's been through different people owned it. And this people that have that now, I don't even know their names. But they remodeled before they bought it. Some realtor bought it.
Mm-hmm.
And he spent a lot of money on it. They bought it then, and then he did some more painting on it. And
I was trying to remember the color of the paint on it now.
I think it's kind of an off yellow or off white.
It's a pretty large house.
Yes, oh yeah, 2-story.
Mm-hmm.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4 bedrooms upstairs. No bathrooms, of course, at that time.
Well, how was the house heated at that time, when you folks moved in?
Yeah, okay, we had a fireplace there, and then they put a round wood stove or a coal stove right in the dining room there, and it was just heated with the stove. Now they had a wood-burning cook stove out in the kitchen, so they used that for heat too. Upstairs wasn't heated much.
Was the upstairs, did it have any, what I'd call registers where the heat could rise, or?
In one room there was register there from that dining room.
There wasn't any problem about water freezing upstairs? Your bathroom facilities were basically located where?
Outside.
Outside, in what we referred to as an outhouse.
Yes, right, like you got over here.
Was the house in pretty good shape or pretty bad shape?
Man.
It is an old house, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's probably over 150 years old. But the hand-hewn timbers on the studs were even hand-hewn. And metal roof on it, and that metal roof is still on there.
Is that right?
Yeah.
This lasted a good long time.
Oh, yeah, those roofs used to last a long time.
I didn't know whether we mentioned it enough, but how large was, acreage-wise, how big was the farm?
About 64, 65 acres. About half on each side of the road.
Were the farm buildings on the house side of the road, or were they on the other side?
They were on the other side, what was there, but then most of those were in bad shape. And Dad was a carpenter, and he built some houses and some barns, keep hay in. They weren't big fancy barns, but they were just small barns, and where we could bring the cows in and milk them and feed them in there. I think that barn, that cow barn had about 6 or 8 stalls in it. That was about the way.
Was that a separate barn? Did he have any horses?
Yeah, we had one horse that was blind, and I used to ride Topsy out to get the cows in. I called him Topsy.
Where were you? How many acres did you cultivate, and how many?
Oh wow! There really wasn't much tillable. Behind the house, there was a good field there that we worked. Well, we plowed it and worked it by hand, and then raised butter beans and potatoes and that kind of stuff in there. And then they used to take it out and peddle it. They had a peddling route over in Hyde Park.
Oh, I see.
And she made butter, my mother made butter and buttermilk, and we had all the milk we wanted to drink, for sure.
Did you have 6 cows?
Yeah.
Well, now, you didn't use all that milk, did you?
No, we separated it and made butter. And when milk was separated, that was what we had to drink. It always tasted good, because I guess it didn't get all the butter fat out of it. It's good.
Did your parents sell any of the dairy products? I mean, either the butter or the milk or anything?
They sold the butter on that route. There wasn't any rules and regulations against that at that time, but they sold the butter and the buttermilk on that route that they went on with the vegetables.
Did they sell any? There used to be in the areas collectors of milk.
Oh yeah.
Did they sell any to them?
Yes. Yeah. Tri-City had a place in Cincinnati, and a truck would come around and pick up the 5-gallon cans, and they had a label on them that they knew that it was from our place. So they sold some of that too.
They didn't dump it. They didn't have a big tank on the truck. They took your milk can, I guess.
That's right.
Is that right? And then brought it back to you.
Yeah.
I know that you told me when you moved in there that there wasn't any electric there. How did they keep the butter and the milk and those kind of products that have a tendency to go sour? How did they?
Down in the well, we had a well down in the side yard that we didn't use the water from. It was a rock well, and they put it down in there and keep it cool.
Was it actually a spring house, or would you?
No, it wasn't a spring house.
Just
in the field, right between our house and the next one. But that was the only way they had of keeping it.
Was the well did it flow pretty well? Or?
No, it didn't flow, it was cold down in there with the stone and
Is there any evidence of that around anymore, to your knowledge?
I don't know. I don't think, let's see, there's no house built in that field, so it could be out there yet.
As I understand the boundaries relating to what is there presently, that new subdivision they're building on the west side of 8 Mile Road was the southern boundary of the property.
Right.
And then how far on the northern end would it be?
It was between the house, the 2-story house, and the what's the guy do down there? He's a florist or well, he's a builder now. He got in the building business. Well, between those 2 houses.
That's where the property was located. You mentioned that there wasn't the property that was on the opposite side of the road from the house. Was that pasture mostly, or?
Yeah, that was mostly pasture. Now, up in there where your house and the neighbor's house there, that field was tillable, but it was so poor.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
It
seemed like the ground had been farmed and there was nothing put back into it. It wouldn't hardly raise good corn. We tried to raise corn in there.
I see.
And right along the road, then there was 2 rows of apple trees that run north and south.
On your farm?
No, yeah, on the farm, but they were in front of your house
Uh-huh.
and Lee's place there.
Did you folks sell any apples?
Yeah, and then there on the other side of the road there were some pear trees.
Uh-huh.
Those things that bear like mad, you know. Yeah, we sold a few of those things.
Uh-huh. Was that on the route to the
Yes.
Hyde Park?
Mm-hmm. And then it could have been, you know, people that they contact that might come out and get a bushel.
Uh-huh.
That's-
I'm just going to ask you, did you have a stand there at the farm?
No, there wasn't enough traffic down there.
I see. When you moved there, describe 8 Mile as it was in front of your place.
Just 2 tracks of gravel,
Uh-huh.
and boy, it was rough. Right.
There wasn't any, just that. Did it go down the hill and over to
Yeah.
32, what we know is 32 now?
Yeah, yeah, there was
How
a
was,
steel bridge down at the bottom of the hill that went across that creek,
uh-huh,
and the one up closer to the hill was a cement-built bridge.
uh-huh.
They had bridges in there at that time.
But it was just a 2-lane
Yeah.
highway all the way, or roadway, I should say, and it was
Yeah.
variable.
Yeah.
Was it pretty hard to get through when the weather was pretty bad, or?
Well, no, except, you know, it got snowed pretty deep.
Uh-huh.
Nobody plowed the snow.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But,
Now, we'll be, wandering around, but while we're on the road, you described to me how that was repaired while you folks lived there.
yeah,
They said the CGMP was involved in that.
right.
How did that work?
Well, the CGMP came through Forestville and up and across Niggle Road, and it came across 8 Mile and went on up. Now, that went through Silver's farm and Garrett Van Zon's farm and then Suter's.
Uh-huh.
And then when they built that road, they was going to build that road, they built an extra track to the side, and they had a tipple there where they could dump the cars and dump it into trucks. They
Do
did
you
that
know approximately where that tipple was
Yes.
located?
right next to the road, because the trucks had to back in
Uh-huh.
and get underneath it. See, they had a
They had it
Dug
raised
out.
up so they could,
they didn't raise the tracks because, that was for the cars.
Oh, yeah.
But, they dug underneath it, the trucks were back underneath there, and then they'd dump a load in the truck and take gravel and so forth.
uh-huh.
But I don't know where the blacktop came from then.
Oh, I see. But that's how the CGMP was in, so that was a major project, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Do you recall, did it take place over a period of time, or was
Probably 2 years.
is that right?
They had to do a lot of grading, and I
Uh-huh.
remember Milt Maddox that used to live there on 8 Mile. He had a team of mules, and
Uh-huh.
he hired out to them, and they had these shovels that they pull with them, and the man
Yeah.
would pull the 2
In other words, that's the way they graded with a scoop-like thing,
yeah.
right? And
I
then-
can see them today right down there by the old house. You just stand in the front yard, and I saw
Uh-huh.
Milton had his team out there and grading that road out.
When you say a team, was it just two mules, or?
Yeah, 2. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Was he the only one that was doing it, or did they have
Well,
other?
they had others,
Uh-huh.
but they also had some wagons that the bottom would open out and they'd dump it. They may hold some gravel or dirt to move it from here to there and in that.
In other words, you're talking about farm wagons, huh?
Yeah, but these were kind of made special. The bottom was so that it would dump,
Uh-huh.
and they could dump the dirt out, whatever gravel or whatever they had.
Were those trucks, or were those pulled by horses?
This was pulled by horses.
Uh-huh.
The trucks were dump trucks like they are today.
I see. Uh-huh. So they used both kinds, huh?
Yeah. I think they used the horses mainly in the development of the contour of the road and
Oh, yeah.
putting in culverts. And I see down there by John Dahlheimer, just next door to us there, there was a big culvert in there.
Yeah.
That was a big culvert. Well, they tore one side down to get a driveway in.
Uh-huh.
But that was built in there, and I can't remember where they got the cement for that.
Yeah, yeah. What about can you tell us where this tipple was relating to what's located there now?
Okay. Well, you know, Silver's house, it's kind of red
Yeah.
now. They're
Yeah.
building a new house behind it,
Yeah,
just across the 8 Mile Road.
from that.
Just, yeah, and it was just right in the right side of the 8 Mile Road. Wasn't very far in there because they had to, but it was far enough to get the cars off the road, you know, but they'd bring that up with an electric mule, they call it. They'd bring those cars up there and back them in that side track, and that's where they got the gravel.
At the time that they were building 8 Mile, was Pluff Pike pretty well established at that time?
Yes, I would say it was. Yeah.
It was gravel, I guess, or macadam, or?
Well, probably just gravel. 2-lane gravel.
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't just 2 tracks like we had at first back 8 Mile there.
Well, that's interesting. So you observed the building of 8 Mile Road.
Right, yeah.
Going back to the farming project, or in other words, your family at that time lived off of the, I guess, was that your dad's full-time job, or did he have any
Well,
other?
no, he had another job downtown. I think he went to Globe Wernicke, or he changed around. It seemed like there was a period there, at that time, I don't remember the year, there was a period when a machinist could walk out of one shop and go over to another one and get a job. He kind of floated around a little bit like that till he got settled. But he was a machinist at that time. And like I say, he started out at Globe Wernicke, he went to the Blondes and some of the other machine shops.
So he was not only a carpenter, but a machinist too.
Yeah, he learned the carpenter trade over at Germany. And I think he got into the machinist trade over here. Just went into like Globe Wernicke. He had a cousin that worked there.
So when he was working, who ran the farm?
Well, Mom and the kids.
Were you one of the kids?
I was one of the kids, and I was the youngest, and they used to let me sleep in up there in the hallway. They had put a mat down, and the rest of them went out and had to pick berries and do this and do that and do the other.
When you say berries, did you grow those, or were those
Wild.
wild?
Yeah.
Where were those patches located?
Kind of in the pasture, you know how they come up in blotches. And then there were some dewberries back in behind where our house is now, on back near the woods.
Now, were those wild too?
Yeah. There were some strawberries back there. In fact, there's a few strawberry plants yet back there.
Is that right?
Yeah, even though they get mowed down, they come right back up. But they're so little, they're just...
Those tiny, the wild strawberries you're speaking of now.
Yeah. Today, in today's world, but you used to be able to find a few patches of bigger strawberries back then.
That were wild. Well, that's interesting. Well, did you just use those for your own consumption, or did you sell any of those?
We had to sell almost everything. We had to keep the payments up on the farm.
Yeah. Do you know who your parents bought the farm from?
England.
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 Had they lived there for a long time, or do you?
They wasn't living there when
they sold.
When we bought it. Somebody been in there with a shotgun and shot a big patch in the trim on the door that went between the front rim and the back rim.
Oh, you think maybe
you could see all them BBs.
Is that right?
Yeah, I don't know whether they was having a shootout there or whether that was just a fun thing.
They weren't chasing Indians, were they?
No, but there was nobody living there when we bought it. And the front yard growed up with berry vines and weeds.
Oh, it had more or less been abandoned.
Oh, yeah. I guess for what they bought it for, I guess it was in bad shape.
Well, do you know what I mean, I don't know whether you want to tell that.
Oh, yeah, I'll tell what they paid for.
What was it?
$4,500.
Uh-huh. Well, I guess at that time, that $4,500 was a lot of money, wasn't it?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
And
we're
they,
speaking in the 20s and right before the Depression, right?
Right. They made a loan at Delta Building and Loan. And that was down on Eastern Avenue. Now, I don't know if Dad knew somebody there through the lodge. He belonged to the IWF, and he might have had some friends down there, but that's where
That's
they
where he
got
got
the
the
loan.
money. So you spoke of butter beans, it's also same as lima beans, right?
Yeah.
Did you sell those on the Huckster route?
Yeah.
And were they shelled out or?
Yeah.
I
They
see.
got the kids sit down and shell the beans.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's quite a tedious task, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did they grow pretty well there?
Oh, yeah, that was good ground. And they grew real nice potatoes in that field.
Was the main crops that you had then that you sold were butter beans and potatoes and berries?
Berries and string beans. They might have grown a few vine crops, like cantaloupes or something like that, but that wasn't the big thing. The big thing was potatoes and the big thing, back then.
Yeah. Did you have chickens?
Yes, they had
Did they?
chickens, and they raised those mostly to eat. At one time, my mother had some people downtown that invited out, and she cooked a big dinner for them on Sunday there, and fried some chicken and all that while they had a feast there. Just had out in the front yard there.
Oh, yeah. Was this family, or was it just some people they knew?
Relatives, and I think those were friends of my dad through the lodge.
I see.
Heiss was one of them.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He used to live down there. He bought a piece of property across the
did?
street. Yeah.
And which Heiss are you speaking of?
I don't know. He used to own a farm down near the bottoms there, where you go back. That kind of dead ends back in there, no?
Oh, off of Elston, you mean?
Elston Road.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Would the pasture, in other words, do you have any pigs?
Yeah, we growed, fed out maybe one pig, maybe sometimes two, but just one, and they cured the meat out with the salt and so forth that they used to rub on.
In other words, you had home butchering. Huh?
Yeah, right.
They didn't butcher any cattle then, did they?
No. They heated rocks and had an old bathtub there, and they'd throw the rocks in and get the water hot. And they got it hot enough, they'd dip those little pigs in there and skin them.
And then they'd cure the meat. Well, you didn't have any refrigeration.
No, they cured it out. Well, of course, they always kind of butchered in the wintertime, so you could leave it hang out and freeze out. And then after you got it cut up into what sections you cut it up in, they had a smokehouse back there. Certain parts of that they would put it in a smokehouse after they treated it with some kind of a salt or stuff for the treating of the meat.
Was it a dry salt or was it a brine?
It was kind of dry. Well, it was kind of a brine. They had a mixture of stuff in there.
They first cured it with that and then smoked it. Is that it? Did that last through the winter pretty well? Or?
Seemed like it did.
Where was the closest grocery store when you
Well,
we're talking now about the 20s and 30s?
Yeah, Andrews.
Andrews?
A-N-D-R-E-S.
Yeah.
And they had a route that they come around, and they had a truck. But at first, they just had a lot of the stuff on the truck. And he'd come in and get an order, and then he'd run it back out. But then they started coming in around the day before and picking up the orders, and then they just put on the truck
Whatever you ordered.
Yeah.
And this was run by Andrews, and those are the folks that still have, or I guess descendants and the folks that.
Oh, yeah, uh-huh.
How did they come around the truck, or?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
There was Pete, he was one of the boys, and that store was up there in Mount Carmel where they got that repair shop now.
Oh, yeah.
That's a building that they had stored.
I guess that was right along, as I understand it, the CGMP ran right past that place there.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, I didn't know whether you'd been up there or not at that time. But that was, in other words, it was sort of a traveling truck that you brought your produce.
Yeah.
Was it cash for the, or was there a trade-off?
Well, they kept some, well, could have been some trade-off, but I don't think it was. But he kept some books, if you couldn't pay, he'd put it down on there, and he trusted you. Seemed like the people, he knew.
But he
all
came the next time, did you have to pay up? Or?
Yeah, maybe pay part of it. Depends on what you sold.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
So, but generally in that area, this period that we're talking about when you were growing up, were there all the other places farms too?
Yes.
And they were mostly farmers at that time.
Right.
And I know that there's one area up on Beachmont Avenue is referred to as Cherry Grove. Was there any trees there that gave it that name, or what?
Not as I remember.
Not that you
I remember the name on Cherry Grove Church. But I think there was a fellow named Dumont had a harbor on this corner there of the Vapeville and Beachmont. But that was a little more populated. I think there was a florist out there, Copperthwaite, and that fellow's name was White, I think, that had a little store in there where he sold produce and stuff like that. But I think he went downtown to get it. Bring it out there and sell it.
Now, the transportation that you had was a car or automobile, or was it?
Model T.
Where did you get your gas for that? Do you recall?
No.
Were there gas stations around anywhere?
Wasn't any around that corner I know at that time. I think there was one down in around here somewhere. There used to be a car dealership up here. It sold Whippets.
Whippets?
Yeah, and my dad worked for him.
What, you mean here on Clough Pike?
Yeah,
right where that Silver Glades is now, or?
It's on up from there, isn't the silver place down below?
No, it's up here.
Oh, okay.
That little shopping area there.
Okay.
I guess, was that always sort of a...
Yeah, and the store where they had the lawnmower repair and so forth, I mean the building.
Yeah.
That was where the car dealership was.
Oh, I see. They sold Whippets, huh? But your folks had a Model T.
Yeah. Well, I guess he might have been allowed to drive one once in a while and bring it home. But,
well, what about your dad worked there? Did he work as a mechanic or as a salesman?
Yeah.
Oh. Was
that?
that
I think it was just a part-time thing because it wasn't a very big place.
What did you use? You spoke of plowing these fields. Did you use horses to plow, or?
Yeah. At first. And then later on, we built a tractor, and then later on, Louis bought a Fordson tractor, and he did a little farming there. He was a second brother.
What did you build one out of?
Oh, that was an old 26 Dodge. It was a 4-cylinder with a stick shift in it. And then you'd put a transmission behind that transmission to gear it down,
Yeah.
Then cut the frame down and shorten the wheelbase.
You built that there?
Yeah. I don't know how we did the welding. Maybe we just did a lot of drilling and bolts, holding them together. But
did that work pretty good?
Not very good.
Not very good.
No, they're not made to do that. But
well, as you grew older, and I'm talking now. First of all, where did you go to school when you started the school?
Mount Summit, That was on Clough Pike. Between Waniger Lane and Juleps, on the opposite side of the street.
Opposite from the park?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And that was a one-room school, I presume?
8 grades.
Who were your teachers?
Well, we had one Harold Maddox, I can remember him, and then Miss Harmon.
Mm-hmm.
Miss Harmon, yeah. That's the only 2 that I remember, because I only went there in the 1st grade, and then we had to...
Oh, the consolidated
Anderson,
schools,
yeah.
huh? I guess, did your brothers and sister go to that school?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Were there very many pupils there? I mean, would it be one of these things, there were 8 grades in the one schoolhouse? For instance, when you were going there in the 1st grade, how many other students did you have in the 1st grade? Were you the only one, or was there?
There might have been 2 or 3 more. I think Harold Clark was coming there. And, Steak Bar Boys, maybe. No, they wasn't that young. But I would say probably 3 to 4.
You haven't had any reunion in your 1st grade?
No.
Okay,
but
so
you
then...
see how they had do you know how they have the grades?
No.
1 row, the desks, and next row is, it starts out with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Where would you, as in the kindergarten, which relating to the front of the classroom, I guess it was just one big classroom, like.
Oh yeah, just wide open.
Where would you be seated, in the front or the back?
The 3rd row, up in front.
Uh-huh.
And one day when, I'll tell this little tale, one day when we was cutting across, I told you about that, I think, the client behind, well, from 8 Mile over to Clough, there was a path going across there, and there was a creek back in there, and it had rained the night before. I fell in that creek on the way to school, and had to take my clothes off, and part of them at a time, and hang them up around the potbelly stove in the back and get them dried out. The teacher gave me permission to do that.
Huh.
That was Mrs. Harmon.
Was that I guess it was cold then.
Oh yeah. But they had a furnace in there. I don't think there was any blower on it or anything, but it just circulated around through the school.
Did you go all day to school? Or did you go home for lunch, or what?
Well, we carried our lunch instead of walking all the way over there. We had a little lunch box.
So there weren't any school buses at that time?
No. But right next year, you know, they started the consolidation.
And that school was located where?
Where the Kroger store is now.
So in the 2nd grade, you started the consolidated school, and was transported there by bus.
Right.
And this bus, who was your bus?
Mine was number 8, and the driver was Lobb, Mr. Lobb. He lived up there right almost on the Clermont County line.
He also was a farmer, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I think he told me something I wasn't aware of. Each one of these drivers at that time owned their own bus, right? Right. And they were responsible to keep it up. And was yours pretty comfortable, or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I guess I can imagine if there were different owners that there were different, what should I say, different classes of buses or
different sizes.
Sizes.
Yeah.
That's old. Some of them were old, some of them were new, and.
Well, now most of them were pretty new, but they held up fairly good. Now I don't know how long that went. I don't remember how long that went on, but then they got into the big business, you know, and they had the central transportation. So
yeah. So eventually the school buses became owned by the school board. Yeah. Was that during the time that you went there? Or?
Yes, I think it was. Because let's see, I went about 10 years there.
You went to high school there too,
yeah.
Right?
I didn't finish high school, but I did get my GED.
Yeah.
And then I got a couple of years of college after that.
But so you you left high school, and I guess were you still living on the farm?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, we still living there when I got married.
Uh-huh. You got married when? This is
1938.
spot.
1938, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that was the date that.
Yeah.
And your wife's name?
Cleo?
And did she live around here? Did you folks meet in this area?
Yes. Yeah, she lived on 8 Mile Road too. Across from that new Methodist church out there.
Well, yeah. On this side of Beachmont then?
Yes.
And did you folks, when you got married, did you stay here in Anderson Township?
Yes.
Where did you move to?
Well, we stayed with Mom and Dad, and they made a practice of giving each child a lot from starting up there with the subdivision down. And we were the third one there, I think. Yeah, third house. And so we built a house there.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just a house. No furnace. There was a bathroom there, but no facilities. Her dad drilled a water well for us. And we piped that into the basement. We used to go down there with a pitcher pump and carry the water up. If she had to wash, we'd pump the water down there.
This is in the 38, 39, that area.
Yeah. We lived right across from you there.
Yeah.
Third house.
That house is still standing.
Yeah, the boys.
In fact, that you spoke that each child got a lot.
Yes, 75 feet wide and all the way back, and then about 2 acres in that.
So there were 4 lots altogether, and then they were separated off, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Then did they, I guess, then sold off the rest of the farm to other people, or?
Yeah.
How long did your parents live until?
18 years.
How many years?
18.
Parents?
18 we lived there.
Oh, we did, yeah, after we got married, yeah.
Yeah. Your mother and dad, I think you told me, died in the 60s, early 60s.
Yeah, 60s.
Yeah.
I just saw that in the Bible the other day.
So they had sold all the farms off, or either given them away?
Yeah, they had sold all off, and at the time that we built the house we're in now, they moved out of the 2-story house and bought our little house there.
I see.
Up the road. And it was easier for them, but the rest of the property was sold then at that time.
When you first got married, where did you work, Roy?
Wessel Bedding Company down on Main Street in Cincinnati.
How did you get back and forth to work?
Well, and Brother Dick had an old DeSoto, DeSoto. And we carpooled, Dad and I and another fella down Matthews down on Wolfhanger Road. We rode together.
You all rode together, in other words. Did you all work the same place?
3 of us did. Dad worked down in the bottoms in the
He was
warehouse.
still working or traveling down. I meant to go back just a moment, and I know when you moved there on 8 Mile, there were no facilities. Do you recall approximately when you got, I guess the first service you got, was it either telephone or electricity or both?
Electricity and then come telephone.
Do you recall when was the electricity available when you and Cleo built your house there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Had it been there for a while, or?
Yeah, it had probably been there for a while. How many years? About 10 years maybe.
How about telephones?
About the same. They both come about the same time because I guess they run them on the same pole.
Yeah. And so that was a big help, I guess. And then you got refrigerators and all that good stuff, right?
Yeah.
Well, when
water pumps.
Yeah. That was a big help, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When in the homestead, what source of what you mentioned, a spring? Did you use that for the water in the house? I think you said you didn't use it.
No, we did. in that one well down in the side yard, that was a spring, but we had cisterns and 2 tanks. The first tank, there was gravel and charcoal and stuff in the bottom, and that's where the water came in off of the roof and then filtered over to another one. And we never did run out of water there because
it must have been a large
reserve. We had a lot of reserve.
Yeah.
And then,
well, that was a sort of a mini filtering plant then.
Yeah, right. But you'd have to change that aggregate and so forth once in a while, clean it up, and scrub the walls down and stuff like that.
Yeah, that must have been quite a job.
Oh yeah, well, you had to get the water out of both of them at that time because there was a pipe run between the one tank and the other one. See, and you had to.
But you never had any problem with water, huh?
No. After we emptied them out and cleaned them out, we fortunately got some rain, I guess.
Yeah.
There it water back.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And across for the cattle, they drank some out of the creek, and we had a well down there in the bottoms of that.
Did the farm, in other words, ran down to that creek that runs through there now?
Yeah.
I mean, they were able to get water down there.
Yeah.
The cattle that you grazed. Going back to right before, I know you said you worked at downtown the time you got married. Before that, had you had any other jobs, or did you mainly just work on the farm?
We worked on some of the farms, like Mr. Cross out there, Mr. Johnson out in Cherry Grove. You'd get about a quarter an hour. I worked for Mr. Suter a little bit when he put up hay and when the threshing machines came for the threshing wheat and the oats. And that's what I was doing when I was courting my wife.
Oh, I see. So you had a
bicycle.
You had a bicycle, huh? Is that what was your form of transportation?
Yeah, that was it, yeah.
Where'd you get that?
Well, I worked for the people that lived out there along the railroad track, and they had dogs, and I cleaned the pens and took care of the dog. Trakowski, yeah.
Oh, they had a dog kennel?
Yeah, and that was in Silvers's farm. They rented Silvers's building when they moved out. Now, where did Silvers's move to? I guess the family was kind of spreading all around, and then the house was empty, and both the parents passed away. But Billy and Ralph, Bob, and Martha just passed away now.
Yeah.
She used to work at school, didn't she?
Yeah.
So that's where I worked at that place, and they rented that house off of Silvers's. Like I say, that right across.
Was that your main job?
At that time,
with the dogs?
Yeah.
But you did
school and that.
School and that. Well, it kept you busy. But there were jobs a bit. These farmers around needed help, and they'd hire the young persons around the neighborhood, I guess. So after you got married, then you started working downtown.
Yeah.
And how long, you folks have lived on 8 Mile since your marriage, haven't you?
Oh yeah.
Either
18 years in the little house and about 48 in the other house.
You do have children. You could give their names just as a matter.
Yeah, our oldest daughter was Judith Lynn, and then we had Lois Jean, and then Betty June.
And none of them live on 8 Mile, do they?
No, one lives up there off of the Deer Valley up in there. But
I see.
The rest of one of them's in Florida and one of them's in Denver, Colorado.
Oh yeah.
They got their own families and all that.
Sure. How long did you work? Did you work at the mattress factory? Was that was on Main Street? You saying? On Main Street, what part of Main Street relating to the cross streets? Was it on 6th or 7th or?
Next, see, 6th, and that was, you remember Spats? We used to have a natural food place.
Yeah.
Well,
I
right
think
across
it's
the
right
street.
across the street. Well, that place I think is still there.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I think.
I was thinking.
Not under the name of Spats, but there is a health food store.
The health food store.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So it was down in town,
Oh,
really,
yeah,
wasn't it?
yeah, right on Main
Then-
Street.
Was it a pretty tall building or
I think it was 5 stories.
all self-contained then, huh?
Yeah, they had different operations on every floor. Well, then they owned some building back in the back alley where they had the garnet machine, where they run the cotton and so forth, and rebuilt the mattresses.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so they did rebuild used mattresses?
Yeah, they had a salesman that went out, and I think he went through the higher classes of the town, like Hyde Park maybe, and other different places, but he would call on the people, and or they would call in and ask him to come out and look at what they had, and he'd give them a price. They'd bring them in, you could tear them apart, and if the cotton was any good, you'd run it through that garnet machine, and then use new cotton to finish it up.
I didn't know they did that. I don't think they do that now, do they?
I don't think so.
What, did you work there for a long period of time, or did you change jobs?
Let's see, I probably worked there about 8 years. Where'd I go from there?
I was trying to think, the Second World War came about, and I know you were called into the service,
Yeah,
even though you had
3 children.
3 children. You recall what year that was?
44.
44. And did you? How long did? I can't remember when the war ended anymore. So.
Well, I got out in 45. They only kept me a year because it kind of died down. And those that had family at home, they started
Discharging them. But did you? What branch did you go into?
Marine Corps.
Yeah.
Not voluntarily though.
You just got. Where was the draft board for that?
I think it was in that big building in Marymount.
Oh, it was that far away.
Yeah.
They had covered a pretty big area then.
Yeah, right.
When 45, basically Anderson Township was still pretty much farms, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It hadn't
There's
grown.
development on our farm, of course, where the houses were built there.
Yeah.
Wasn't too many other ones.
But anyway, you were drafted into the Marine Corps, and did you travel around the states, or did you go overseas?
No, they immediately shipped us, the 10 of us, out to San Diego, California, on an old car, no air conditioning, and in the railroad cars, they had the things that went up for beds at night, and they laid them down, and you sit on them during the day while you're traveling.
Yeah.
No air conditioning, and they didn't have eats on the train, but they had certain places along the trail where they knew where they were going to stop, and you'd stop 3 times a day for meals.
So this train went from here out there?
From Chicago, we had to go from Cincinnati up to Chicago, and then from there.
Was this all service people that were on the train?
This was,
Was that a pretty large group, or was it?
Yeah, I don't remember how many cars was on it. Maybe 5 or 6 cars, maybe 8. But then maybe they had some freight somewhere over there too that they was taking. But well, that was a long haul.
Yeah, I guess it was. In other words, you stayed on the train except when you stopped to eat.
Yeah, right. And let's see what. Well, we're going to tell you something else here, But when Cleo came out to see me, I was in the Marine Corps, and I went through boot camp. They had 12 weeks of boot camp.
Yeah.
You get out of there, and you're happy about that. But then they sent me to Fort Crook, Nebraska, and I went into mechanic school there. That's where I learned about mechanics. And I was in the Air Force and the ground crew for the Marine Corps. And before
How
we-
long was your training on that mechanics part?
That was about 6 weeks, I think, yeah. Because they did a pretty thorough job of it.
Yeah.
They got into carburation.
Got in a lot of
and all,
training,
yeah.
huh?
Oh, yeah. At that time, you know, they had old cars and trucks. Well, they were manufactured new, but I mean, they had the carburetors on them. You don't have a carburetor on a car now anymore. It doesn't seem like, but
Yeah. Huh. Well, I guess in a way it was an experience that you cherish in some ways.
Yeah, yeah. When I was going through the examination line there in Marymount, I think, and the guy that was inspecting the ears, the doctor, he got called to the phone call. And so my ears didn't get examined, so I went through and I passed, you know. And when I was in California and they get ready to ship out to foreign countries, went through another examination. Well, they found a perforated eardrum in my ear. So you can't get any place where you get gas with that, so I didn't go. So they sent me down to the U.S. Naval Hospital and I went through some examinations there, and after they satisfied that I had a perforated eardrum and everything, and then the war was kind of slowing down anyway. They discharged me. I think I was on the train. Which one of the countries gave up first?
Germany, yeah.
It said that was VJ Day when I was going home on the train. I remember.
VJ, well, that would
VG rather.
Yeah, VG, yeah, that would have been Germany.
First country.
Yeah, and then after that, the atomic bomb ended the other one. Going back, and this is what I keep trying to get all of you know, how life was here in Anderson Township back in the 20s and 30s. In those days, did you do a lot of hunting?
Yes.
What were the main items that were available, or animals available?
Yeah, well, we had traps. We had traps that we'd sit and sell the fur.
Where did you sell that?
We, it seemed to me like we shipped it to some company. And my brother and...
what kind of animals would you try?
Well, for one thing, you caught a skunk. When you went to school, boy, all the kids were raising cane somehow or another. You got that on you, and I guess the teacher sent us home to get picked up. But anyway, skunks, rabbits. The rabbits we used to hunt and eat them.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't have any other meat for our family, and all possum. You might catch a possum once in a while, but you have them all. I have them all through the pasture out. I did, but my brother and I together, and we'd have to run those traps in early every morning.
Oh, yeah. Then you'd skin them and
put them on board and stretch them.
And that was kind of, there were a lot of animals around.
Oh, yeah. If you caught a mink, that was really something.
That's what I wondered about. That was the high price one.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea, remember at all, what you'd get for a pelt in those days?
50 cents probably.
Yeah.
You had to trap them and ship them. You had to cure them out, stretch them and everything.
They gave you something to do in the wintertime.
Yeah, right.
But you did, a lot of people used to hunt for rabbits and eat them, that sort of thing.
Yeah, we did that.
You had mentioned,
both of us.
You mentioned one thing about the, after you got out of the service, that interest, you went into business, I think you said.
Yeah.
And I'd like for you to describe that, the concrete block business.
I went in.
Was that right after you came out of the service?
Yeah, no, I started the business with her brother. And we used to work, before I went into service, I worked at Greaves. And they jobbed and made the dyes for Cincinnati Shaper Company. And we had run a planer there. I run it for 12 hours. And brother-in-law run it for 12 hours.
Uh-huh.
So we worked 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, you know.
Where did you have the planer?
The one that we started up, the
Mhm.
planer we worked on then was down on Eastern Avenue.
Oh, yeah.
Machine tool.
Yeah.
But now, when I come back out of the service, Claude built a building out there across from the Methodist church back in there.
On 8 Mile?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's still there.
Yeah.
And he bought a planer, and we both worked it.
Uh-huh.
And
So you
then
do piecework for,
yeah, they
companies?
charge so much a piece for those dies, and, you know, depending on how long it was, some of them were 20 feet long.
uh-huh,
But
wow.
then my wife used to put them on a truck and deliver them over to Cincinnati Shaper Company.
Oh, is that right? So your wife Cleo's in the business too,
Yeah,
huh?
she got paid for doing that.
Uh-huh.
And then from there is when we started to pull
Oh, I
concrete
see.
block.
In other words, you didn't stay in the planer business.
No, about 3 or 4 years
Uh-huh.
long,
Uh-huh.
started the block business.
Did your partner, you say it was your brother or
My
brother-in-law?
brother, my
Uh-huh.
brother-in-law.
Yeah, did he continue to operate the
Yes.
planer business there for a while?
For quite a long time,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Did he have any particular name for it or just his own?
Let's see, I guess it was, did they call it Needles,
Needles Machine Shop or something like that?
Needles Dye Shop or something
Uh-huh,
like that?
uh-huh. And that was across in where that Methodist church is now located.
On 8 Mile,
What do they
yeah.
got there now?
I think there's an old building there yet.
There's a building back in there, and that fella that bought it, and there's some blacktop guy.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
goes back in there.
What other business was there? You were telling me there was a oil,
Yeah, oil refinery
yeah, back in there.
back in there.
That was, that someone
Russell Maddox.
bought this used oil,
Mm-hmm.
and he'd refine it and
Yeah,
resell it. huh?
yeah, right.
I guess that was kind of a smelly operation.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I think that's finally how they had to shut it down.
Uh-huh. But you weren't involved in that.
No.
You went from the planing business to the, and
Concrete block.
where was that located?
Right behind our first house there.
Uh-huh.
We had a 2-car garage, it's still there, and we built a lean-to to it so that we could dry the block in there,
Uh-huh.
and that's where we made it.
Now, who was in business with that?
Homer Massey, my brother-in-law,
Uh-huh.
he and I was in that.
Uh-huh.
They
Yeah.
called that Hilltop Block Company.
Is that what you called it? Well, you got the right name.
Yeah.
It's up on the hill.
Hilltop Block Company.
How'd that work out?
Well, no good.
Uh-huh. It wasn't no
We
money
sold
making.
a lot of them, but
Yeah.
a lot of them we didn't sell. We have them piled in the
Was,
field.
at that time, was there a great demand in this area for a concrete block?
Yes, but there were automated machines
Oh,
and competition, you know, big ones. There was a big block company down in Newtown, perfect concrete
Can
block.
I use this little room?
yeah,
That went on there, didn't it?
yeah.
But there's so much competition that with
I see.
automation.
You didn't have, in other words, yours was more or less labor
hand.
intensive, yeah.
We had to dump the cement down into a form and then push a pedal and it would vibrate, and then you take them out and let them dry.
Uh,
That was kind of slow, you know.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Did you have any problem selling them, what you did produce?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, well, I guess that was, things weren't too great at that time, were they?
No.
Yeah. Well, you got out of that business, then where did you go?
I went to Dick Berger Trucking Company as a mechanic.
Uh-huh,
He was down there with a paper mill.
uh-huh.
He hauled all the rolls and the paper for the paper mill.
You mean down on Red Bank Road?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And how long did you stay?
I stayed there about 5 years, and then I went to Walt's Furnace Company
Uh-huh.
down on Florence Avenue. And they built heat treat furnaces for hardening metals. You know.
Uh-huh.
So I stayed there about 15 years.
That kind of, you went all over the country on that.
Yeah, I went out and set them up and got them running and
Uh-huh.
tested them out and so
Mhm.
forth.
That's a pretty specialized field, isn't it?
Yeah, I got promoted to vice president of manufacturing.
Is
there.
that right? Well, that's good. Well, why didn't you stay there?
No benefits.
Oh, no
I
benefits.
talked to that man for 15 years, trying to get him to set up a retirement plan. You know.
You wouldn't do it.
Well, he had his family in there.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
just a few workers
Mhm.
was doing the work out in the
Uh-huh.
shop.
Uh-huh.
Welders, a lot of that was welding.
Uh-huh. What, as I understand it, you then became an employee here in Anderson Township. After that,
Yeah,
huh?
Senco Products.
How did you happen to get involved with them?
Well, I knew Al Juleps pretty well. He used to stop at our house there on 8 Mile Road and on his way home from work and talk. And
Where did he work at that time, do you know?
that's where I was, when I was down at Walt's first.
Uh-huh. I mean, where was he working?
Al?
Yeah.
Well, he was started that business in that schoolhouse.
Oh, I
over
see.
there.
Uh-huh.
Al Juleps.
The schoolhouse was where?
Right off of Main, was that Main Street?
Oh, you
or-
mean in Newtown?
Newtown, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I
At
think
Main,
you said you
it's
had-
on Diebold, isn't it?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
behind
that's,
that
so that
swimming
school that's there, that's where he started out.
pool.
huh?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Uh-huh. And you knew him, or did he know
I
your
got
family? or-
acquainted, I got acquainted with him and we had some machinery for the block business.
Uh-huh.
And you know, that war so bad, aggregates were everything. And I took him down there to his shop and he did job work like that too. Not only
Uh-huh.
making staples or getting into the staple business
Uh-huh.
and guns,
Uh-huh.
but he did job work. So he did some work for us for repairing and
Uh-huh.
welding and
Mhm.
machining and so forth like that. That's how I got acquainted with him.
Hmm.
So
So,
he was a nice guy, I tell you.
so his business was sort of a family business too, wasn't it? when
It got to
started?
be, yeah.
Yeah.
And
How did you ask for a job there, or did he?
well, he kept talking to me about, why don't you come over and work for me? And I went over a couple times and he showed me around and he had staple machines, you know, that punched out
Uh-huh.
them staples. Well, he had a bunch of them things.
Uh-huh.
He was going pretty good at that time.
Yeah, yeah.
So I finally left Walt's Furnace Company in 1966 and went over there
Uh-huh.
and talked to him, and he said, go out and see the personnel director, and I'll call him up. We'll hire you.
In other words, you called him up and told him better hire him.
Yeah, he called the personnel man.
Yeah.
But that was when they were just moving out to the bottoms.
Uh-huh.
They had part of the building done, so they needed some work, some people to work for them in that maintenance area to get machinery moved and so forth. So, but that's where I went from there and stayed there for, let's see, I think 18 years.
Uh-huh.
That's when I
But
retired.
did you, were you in any particular department? Were you?
Well, I ended up being manager of plant engineering. Now, plant engineering involves housekeeping, maintenance on machinery, buildings. I was involved with the contractors in building the additions and so forth. And I think every year I was there, they added on.
Added on, and business
Oh, wow.
expanded and expanded and expanded, right?
Yeah.
All during the period that you were there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was Mr. Julep alive yet when you
Oh, yes.
left?
When I went there,
Mm-hmm.
not when I retired.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
He didn't live that long, did
No, no. But his oldest son,
he?
George, he graduated from high school with our oldest daughter.
Uh-huh.
And he became president then, and CEO.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I worked for him at first,
Mm-hmm.
and then as the promotions come along, you know, they kept getting other vice presidents
Oh,
and
yeah.
so forth and so on. So you move from him to the next vice
Yeah,
president and so
yeah.
forth.
So you worked there until you retired then?
Yes.
Uh-huh. And you worked here in Anderson Township in that plant, right?
Right.
I'm sure at some point they have established plants other places too.
Yeah, well, I did a little traveling around to some other plants.
And then when you retired, guess where you retired to? You retired to Anderson Township.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And you, I don't know, when did you folks build the house that you're living in now? Which is part of the Laub, I'm not the Staub farm.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
38 or 9, wasn't it? We built that house.
Not the one that, not the small one, not the
No,
one we
no,
got
I
married.
believe it was 39.
Yeah, but then,
1939.
no,
59.
you got married in 39, so you must have moved to the newer house.
Oh, yeah, in 18 years.
59.
Yeah, 59, that's right.
Mhm. 59 you moved there,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you're living there now.
Yeah.
Well, Roy, I'm taking up quite a bit of your time.
Well,
I think we kind of covered the Anderson Township,
yeah,
and I appreciate your taking the time to do this.
and I enjoyed it.
Well, good. We hope it turns out.
Yeah. Subdivision. Dave Dreyer, who used to be on the fire department, he got a house back in there on our farm, you know, he built
Yeah.
a house back in there. He called me up and he said, Roy, he said, do you mind if kids are back there cutting trees down and starting to build a tree house and all this and that and the other? He said, I heard some pounding going on, and I went back in there and looked around, and they've cut trees down, I'll bet you that 12, 15 trees, anywhere from that size, up about that size. Saw them all, they saw them off up here, or they hatcheted them off up here. And I went back with him then, and we looked around, and, you know, I don't like it, but I don't have it posted, but now.
You gotta put no trespassing sign.
I
The
started.
police tell me that, you know, he said,
Yeah.
well, the first thing you gotta do is put no
That's
trespassing.
what I figured, so I got.
The other thing, yeah, you gotta do that, and then besides that, if you know where they're coming from, I mean, I told these people in that, you know, when they were cutting that fence all the time,
Yeah,
I said, your property borders on this, and I don't know whether it's your kids or not, I sent them each a letter. And I said, they're trespassing through your property, so I feel that you're partly responsible for this. But, like I told you, I haven't been back there, because I've been having some trouble with my asthma.
yeah, yeah.
But I hope that there's only that one cut in the fence
Oh,
now, I
okay.
don't know.
Uh-huh.
I haven't seen anybody around the lake, but we have, I tell you, never buy a property with a lake on it.
Oh, my, yeah. Fishermen,
Especially if there's fishing.
yeah.
I mean, and there are
You
fishing.
turned that on again, didn't you?
If they move out from the city, they
Darn.
think